I am unapologetically 100% in favor of is the Bible. Jesus is the Word. There is no delineation. If the Bible says it, that's what Jesus is, and that's what Jesus believes. That's what this podcast is actually about, is to actually alert people to what is coming and what is our responsibility in the midst of it.
You'll no longer sell handguns that can be converted into semi-automatic machines able to fire 1,200 rounds a minute. Not here, not in New York.
Hey, pal, you just blowing from Stupid Town?
101 consecutive months of net job growth, California. We're not debating deficits anymore. We now are debating the sizes of surpluses. There's 134,000 human beings out on the streets and sidewalks.
Leader Schumer, you recently called the SAVE Act Jim Crow. Can you explain how it's Jim Crow to require an ID to vote in elections, to drive a car, to purchase alcohol, go to the DMV? Any comment on that?
Leader Schumer, you said you're on the same page as...
What do you think? Should we restore normal order in the Senate and actually go back to the standing filibuster?
You said that you're sending a proposal over there.
10 and 20 million immigrants.
Can you
look
shut
at the
up?
housing stock of working Americans, and can you maintain some level of dignity?
Gentleman's time has expired.
This question and a serious issue for the financial services industry, especially as the Secretary of the Treasury.
Well,
that's an important. No, this is my time. I haven't asked you any more questions. I haven't asked you any more questions.
It's the gentleman from Massachusetts.
I'm trying to get to my next question.
Could you speak a little louder? I can't hear you.
Yeah, okay. I might.
Mr. Secretary, let Mr. Lynch proceed with his time. Put 4 seconds back on the clock, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Lynch.
I just want to do a comparison.
U.S. will have reported likely, despite the government shutdown, despite the longest government shutdown in history, 4.1% growth for the past 3 quarters. And so we have been successful at that. Europe last week celebrated 0.3% growth. So it's no comparison. Right. And I think we are beginning to accelerate. And importantly, everything we are doing is to fix this terrible Biden inflation from the past 4 years, 21.5%, much more for working families, and we are bringing that down.
Speaker, don't forget.
Hello?
Hi, is this Mr. Olive?
Speaking.
Hi, this is Chamberlain from President Trump's office. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I am the president calling for you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
One moment. Of course.
Robert and Linda?
Hi, Mr. President.
Hi, Mr. President. How are you?
Well, how are you both, okay?
We're nervous.
We're very nervous.
I know. You should be, because your son is going to get the highest honor that you can have. There's no higher honor than the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Oh.
Well,
He's going to get it, and Michael is going to be, he's looking down at you right now.
Aw.
And he's saying, well, my mom and dad are handling this pretty well, right?
oh, I hope so. Thank you so much, President, Mr. President. You have no idea the happiness we have.
Thank you for facilitating this. This is so wonderful of you. We are so thrilled because
Wednesday night, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing good. As always, be blessed in the mighty name of Jesus. Let me say it to everybody in the chat real quick. USA Abbey Girl is on. Johnny F62 is on. JGCK is on. Guitar Glenn is on. Scooter Magruder is on. Mike Griffith is on. Mr. Cool Dude is on. Let me see here. General Plowman is on. Skunk 71 is on. Linesmanson is on. King Slutsy McGroin is on. Let me see here. Peg McGroin is on. Lady Vu is on. Big Jim Go Blue is on. Agravane is on. Snodod 311 is on. N Johns 127 is on. Trev McGroin is on. One Fast Rob is on. Let me see here. Scrolling down. Tim L. T-Bird is on. Conservative Warrior is on. Let me see here. Jules 21 Hours is on. Sheila K is on. Let me see. Scrolling down. Granite 2468 is on. Keeping going. Buckeye Nut 1968 is on. USA 1 Mike is on. Steffa Toms is on. K4 VMS is on. Arcadia Angel is on. Shih Tzu Dad is on. Let me see here. Let me see if I can get to the bottom here. Yeah. Lots and lots of names on here, but there we go. Volvo 960 is on. Uncle Wally is on. Conservative Waffle is on. Black Horse is on. Let me see. Lisa Kinzer is on. Milwaukee James is on. Luann 5 is on. I'm going to grab just a couple more here, and we're going to get rolling. Let me see here. Confederate 1 is on. And one or two more. Bud 64 is on. Release of the Hog is on. Let me see if I can grab one or two more. Patrina C is on. I don't want to miss anybody here. Scrolling, trying to get to the bottom here. Charlie 340 is on. We got one more. Let me see who I can get here. Keeper 1376 is on. Love you guys. Appreciate each and every one of you. If you heard Scott Bessent in the pregame, kind of really short pregame on my part today. I didn't know it was going to be that short. But anyway, you heard Scott Bessent talking about growth in the United States is between 4 and 5% economically, but heading more towards 5%. And in the European Union, it's 0.3%. And as they continue along the stagflation trail of exorbitant government spending, open borders, which continues to increase government spending because all the low IQ inbred Muslims that they're allowing in are all going on the government teat. And Donald Trump has shut all that stuff off and has incredibly slowed our national debt, by the way. I mean, you have to be kind of a loser like me and actually be watching the debt clock, and you have to actually see that it has exponentially slowed down. We have been at 38.6 trillion for a long time. That's a lot. Most of that was put on by George W. Bush, Hussein Obama, and Joe Biden. And Trump's main contribution to the national debt, not trying to make excuses for him because he never should have caved to COVID like he did. But anyway, was because of the $7 trillion that was spent on COVID. And they can only track about 800 billion of the 700 trillion that was spent on COVID that was actually spent on COVID. So where in the world is the other $6.2 trillion? And we're still spending at those COVID numbers and that same, we're spending at the same COVID levels. Why are we spending COVID money when there is no COVID? And they're like, well, it's not actually being spent on COVID anymore. But again, if our budget had to go up to 6.8 trillion, which it did during COVID, and remember what we bring in tax revenue is 4 to 5 trillion in tax revenue. So we're spending $1 to $2 trillion over what we actually bring in revenue. Then why are we still, and the reason why we went up to those levels is because of COVID. Then why are we now still at those levels? I mean, you and I are not receiving anything more. You and I have not seen, our roads get better. You and I have not seen our military increase exponentially, increase in size exponentially. Whatever it is, we haven't seen any of those things. By the way, I don't want to see any of those things because a lot of that needs to be state and local. And our military actually needs to be more advanced in technology, and we can actually shrink not actually our numbers in soldiers, but shrink our our bases and everything else because we don't need a lot of the bases that we have. But I digress and all those things. But anyway, so you just see the difference between a Trump economy and a European Union leftist, socialist, communist economy as they continue to they continue to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and ours continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger under Donald Trump. Now we were following the exact same lineage when Joe Biden was president, but Trump has turned that all around via foreign and domestic spending inside of our investment inside of our economy. And right now, factories are being built, regulations are being down. Factories are actually being built inside the United States of America right now. Hopefully oil leases are being opened up, all those different things. All right. Well, anyway, let's hop into ICE. Just a couple slides on ICE. Kind of cooled down in the news right now as far as ICE in Minneapolis. Somewhat cooled down, not a whole lot going on above the normal. There are some interesting things that are actually happening there. And it'll be the second video where they're actually doing their own checkpoints now. But here's just a comparison. Because we see how upset the Democrats are with ICE. We see how upset they are with the deportations. We see how upset they are with people they're so upset that they make up stories about it, about unmarked white vans and Americans being tossed into white vans. No Americans have been arrested. No Americans have been deported. The only Americans that have been deported weren't actually deported. They joined the deportations of their own children. That's all that's actually happened. No American, not one. As you hear, whether it's Ilhan Omar, whether it's AOC, whether it's any member of Maxine Waters, whether it's Tampon Tim, no matter who it is, Zohran Mamdani, whoever it is, Gavin Newsom, all of them are saying that Americans are being deported, Americans are being detained, and not one has been deported. Some have been detained because you have to be detained under police scenarios, certain police scenarios where you're going to take over a certain area, a certain geographical area for your own safety and for the safety of those around you. Other people are going to be detained while it is that you secure a suspect. That, by the way, is just standard police procedure. I know because I was one for 25 years. It is standard police procedure. But the Democrats are saying, you know what, this is just unheard of. All of these things are unheard of. The only reason why any of it is unheard of is because of Democratic Party resistance. The only reason why anything is unheard of where you're actually having to do ICE operations inside of cities is because Democrats have made their cities sanctuary, for one thing, and they're not cooperating with ICE. They do not observe ICE detainers, so they release child rapists back into the streets. They release not only child rapists, but people who have committed DUI manslaughter. People who have killed other Americans, people who have committed manslaughter, people who have committed armed robberies, people who have committed grand thefts back into the streets as they ignore ICE detainers. This did not happen under the Obama administration. So when they say these masked ICE agents, well, under the Obama administration, nobody was doxing ICE agents and putting out their names and addresses online. So nobody was doing that during that time. So now ICE has to put on masks so they don't get doxxed. And then Democrats say these masked ICE agents, they're only masked because of you, because you are not doing the things that you did, or you're not doing the things you didn't do during the Obama administration. During the Obama administration, there were no demonstrations against ICE, and they were deporting far more people because they were observing ICE detainers. All you had to do to deport under the Obama administration was basically report to county jails. It's oversimplistic, but all you had to do was report to county jails, and you would have you'd have 200, 300, 400, 500,000 deportations a year just by going to the jails, because illegals actually commit more crime than American citizens. Not less crime, more crime. You should see the statistics coming out of Tennessee. They were just released of illegal crime. Illegals committed 41 murders inside of the state of Tennessee last year. 41 murders, and they're always talking about how illegals commit less crime than Americans. Well, of course they're going to commit less crime than Americans, because even to this day, obviously, you can say that white men commit more crime than black men. Statistically speaking, that's true. But the problem is that black men commit 56% of violent crimes. And you don't just, the reason why white men commit more crime than black men is because there's so many more of them, with white men being 56% of the population, black men being 13% of the population. Of course, white men are going to commit more crime statistically, but what it is what you have to do is look at it as on a per capita basis. How likely is it for a white man to commit a crime versus a black man to commit a crime? And it's exponentially more likely for a black man to commit a crime than it is for a white man to commit a crime. And it's the same thing when it comes, it's the little games that Democrats play. They say, well, Americans commit far more crime than illegals. Well, of course, they commit more crime because there's 10 times as many of us. But per capita, illegals commit far more crimes than United States citizens. And then, of course, if you look at, of course, very simplistically, 100% of them are criminals because they committed the crime of crossing into the United States illegally. All right, so the Liz variant. Here's the statistics under Obama versus Trump. Title, wait for it. Play for me.
All right, I gotta admit, when I don't get it all the way right, the left has a point here, and this data I'm gonna share is actually pretty compelling. I made a couple of videos that exposed the narrative around ICE and compared the Obama administration against the current administration. There were a few people in the comments, though, that let me know, despite that data, the Obama administration actually did things differently, and they were not arresting people erroneously, they were not harassing US citizens, so it made me dig deeper into the data, and it turns out they have a fair point. Here's a quality report for ICE starting with the final 2 years of the Obama administration where we had this data available. Only a 0.0225% error rate. That's 54 US citizens mistakenly detained out of nearly 240,000 arrests. One mistake out of every 4,000 plus arrests. Only one death out of every 14,000 detainees. Only 4 US citizens who were mistakenly deported during that same time period. I have to give the progressive president props. Like, this is a very clean report. I was the one talking about how messy and how difficult it actually is to enforce the law. This is a very clean report overall. Let's compare it, though, against the Trump administration in the full year of 2025, where they've received so much scrutiny. A 0.0067 error rate, meaning that Obama's error rate was 3 times higher, and a cleaner report across the board. If it wasn't already clear, we are in a propaganda war. And it does not mean, hear me, it does not mean that ICE can do no wrong, or that we shouldn't try to improve our strategy, our tactics, and continue to minimize mistakes as much as we can. But when people are intentionally manufacturing chaos and trying to manipulate our emotions to support their agenda, and when that agenda is an open borders agenda that is unequivocally destructive, harmful, and unloving towards millions of people, we should absolutely question the narrative.
All right, so in case you missed those stats, and he kind of equivocates at the end. I'm not saying that ICE, is above reproach. They actually kind of are. I mean, again, I know there's always human error or whatever, but really, statistically speaking, ICE commits no errors. And you're like, well, no, they even said that he commits an error. Okay, but statistically speaking, ICE commits no errors. Like I've said, there's been not one American has been deported. They'll always name like there was 2, and those 2 they were not even deported. They joined the deportations of their children. That's it. Their children got deported, so they just got on the flight with their kids. Those Americans that they claim were deported can fly back to America. They have American passports, and they have not been deported. They have not been denaturalized because they can't be denaturalized because they were actually born in the United States of America. So it's all, and I mean, and I'm not talking about birthright crap. I'm talking about people that are actually born here. Birthright doesn't count in my view, and it doesn't count in the Constitution either, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But anyway, so you look at these error rates. Under Obama, the error rate, and I'll do credit here. And again, why? And Obama, remember, hung a Presidential Medal of Freedom around Tom Homan's neck. I mean, think about the galactic hypocrisy, the hierarchical hypocrisy. Oh, that's brilliant, guys. Thank you so much. No, I don't have to look at my notes. Aaron, thank you, Aaron, Will, whoever it was. Welcome. Aaron, thank you very much. Aaron's a silent partner right now because Aaron's got the sickies. So anyway, so if you don't hear Aaron, you're wondering why Aaron went. Aaron's here. He's got the sickies. All right, so we're trying to preserve his voice.
I'm muted.
He has to sing. Well, he mutes himself because he's got a snot factory going on. Yep. He doesn't want to annoy me. Yeah. But anyway, so I don't blame him. But anyway. So if under Obama, remember they hung a Presidential Medal of Freedom around evil Tom Homan. Where was Chuck Schumer? Not a problem at all. Maxine Waters is out on the streets right now supporting anti-ICE protests. Why were there no anti-ICE protests there? They were doing the exact same thing. They'll always fall back to their lie of, well, back then they were receiving due process. So you're telling me as they were deporting basically 1 million illegals per year, Tom Homan got a Presidential Medal of Freedom for deporting 900,000 illegals in 1 year. Donald Trump's average right now is 300,000. Hopefully he goes up. I hope he gets it up to 900,000. But he can't because there's too much resistance and there's nobody cooperating with ICE detainers. So he can't. Back then everybody did, and there was nobody was complaining about it. And by the way, America has not changed. The Democratic Party leadership has changed. America has not changed. It changed. If you look at the polls coming out of CNN, the polls out of CNN exponentially say that Americans want mass deportations of every illegal, not just some illegals, every illegal. 52% of Americans, find me one other poll where 52% of Americans agree about anything. 52% of Americans, Republican and Democrat, Independent, everybody else, agree that they want every single illegal deported, not what they call criminal illegals who have committed a subsequent criminal act after their initial criminal act of illegally crossing into the United States of America, but every single illegal, not just criminal illegals. They want them all deported. So Americans have not changed. Even Democrats want them deported. Because Democrats do not feel safe, because a lot of the people that have entered into this country, as all of you well know, are emptied out of prisons and insane asylums. Okay, there are some that are up here to work, but listen, even if you are somebody that's up here to work, but you are willing to break the law to go somewhere to work, you're not a good person. It's as simple as that. But there is no protest at all. I mean, how could any Democrat live in the midst of that hierarchical hypocrisy? How can they live with themselves? If I was a living hypocrite, I could not live with myself until I repented. But they do. I mean, not once. I mean, and what's amazing is we need to continue on social media to expose all of this and just say, hey, remember this? Remember the Tom Holman video where Hussein Obama is hanging a medal around his neck exclusively for what? Exclusively for deporting 900,000 illegals, and not one protest. Nobody was speaking out against it. Not only do they not speak out against it, we have video after video after video of Biden, of Schumer, and everybody else, Hillary Clinton, saying everybody who's illegal should be, especially those who have committed crimes after they're illegals, after they've illegally crossed the southern border, they should all be deported. And of course, they're all calling for comprehensive border reform and that our borders need to be put under control. And they were also calling for every illegal to be deported. In some, in various circumstances or pathways to citizenship sometimes, but basically calling for every illegal to be deported or stopped from initially even entering in the United States. So you just have to think of the hypocrisy of it all. I mean, it really is amazing that Chuck Schumer is now claiming that you're a Nazi if you want to deport illegals. And not 20 years ago, he was saying deport all illegals. So you just look at the stats here. I mean, it's truly amazing. And under Obama, you had a 0.0225% error rate. Again, ICE doesn't commit, it doesn't make mistakes. Do you know why? And I'm not trying to belittle ICE. And that's 54 mistakes and 239,000 arrests under Hussein. Statistically speaking, they don't make arrests because their job is very, very simple. It's not like traditional law enforcement where you're having to go in and assess the situation, did a crime occur, and who committed the crime. Could be a deep investigation, could be white-collar crime, blue-collar crime, it could be street-level crime, whatever it may be. You're still having to assess whether a crime committed, who committed. Not with this. You simply already know that they're illegal. You detain them, confirm their immigration status, and deport them. That's and what Democrats always say. Well, back when Hussein was deporting 1 million people a year for 8 years, every single one of those people got due process. I mean, again, does everybody realize how asinine that is? So you're telling me that 1 million people a year being deported under Hussein Obama received some sort of extenuated due process? 1 million? I mean, think about that, folks. That is somewhere in the neighborhood of Obama levels are 4,000 to 5,000 a day are receiving some sort of extra due process that they're not getting now. Think about how stupid you have to be. But that's and Democrats, they receive a talking point and they never actually think it out and say, is this really even possible? That if you're going to deport 1 million people per year, that these people are going to get some sort of extenuated due process? They're going to get extra court hearings. They're getting the exact same due process they got then now. They're actually getting more due process now because Trump has to get like extra warrants and judicial warrants. Back then, all you do is pick them up on ICE detainers. I mean, it was very easy back then. You didn't have to put on all the gear. Man, you remember we never had to see it back. Everyone can remember back 2010, 2012, 2013, all under Hussein Obama, all the way up to beginning stages of 2017. Nothing. Same thing with George W. Bush under Clinton, the first Bush, Herbert Walker Bush under Reagan. None of us saw any ICE agents because you didn't need to. It was very easy to deport people. They used plainclothes officers because it was basically all you had to do is go pick them up at the jail. That was it. You didn't, because nobody fought it. They only started fighting it under Donald Trump because they believe for some reason it's politically beneficial for them to do it. They believe that for some reason that it's going to help them politically, which of course it is. They want the voters, which I'm not going to get into all of the root causes behind why it is that they want all illegals in this in the United States, but it's because it's politically expedient for them. That's why. And if I have time to get to it tonight, I have a whole section on election fraud, and you'll see why it is. But anyway, so error rate under Obama, one mistake per 4,440 arrests. All right, and 54 mistakes for 239,000 arrests. So you see, basically, ICE, because the job is simple, makes no mistakes. And Trump didn't get worse; he got better, and nobody was bothered by. So Trump basically has gotten double better. He's better by double. He's 2 times better than Obama, at least 2 times better than Obama. So you figure all the complaints would be under Obama, because Obama was worse than Trump. Even though ICE was perfect under Obama, it's even more perfect now. And I'm not saying, again, I'm not singing the praises of ICE. I'm telling you, this is statistical data. This is what's true. So you have under Trump a 0.0067 error rate, and that is 40 mistakes for 595,000 total arrests. Total arrests, 1,000 one mistake per 14,000 arrests. And people are complaining about it. We want due process. They can't get any better due process. It's all lies. The due process thing is all a lie. And where was the complaints about the due process under Obama? They certainly were receiving expedited court proceedings under Obama if he actually deports 1 million people per year. And here's an interesting thing. Tony video. A community created their own method of public safety. Play it for me.
New tonight, Minneapolis police are stepping in after a community created their own method of public safety against ICE.
The flames burn as people stand guard.
We are literally creating a place that we know who's coming and going in and out of our neighborhoods.
Wait. Isn't that what immigration is? Building a wall, checking papers at the entrance to make sure people inside belong there. Huh. That sounds familiar.
That's not building a bigger table. Isn't that building a bigger wall? So here you have Democrats building their own walls inside of Minneapolis so they can decide who it is that comes in and out of their neighborhoods. Isn't that the essence of a border wall? Isn't that it? And by the way, all of these people that are on camera committing crimes, you cannot run United States citizens tags. They don't have the right to do it. You actually have to go through a class to run tags. If you as a police officer run a tag for your own purposes now, okay, it used to be more lenient, but if you run a tag yourself because you have access to FCIC, NCIC, DHSMV right at the tip of your fingers, you can get behind any vehicle, run any tag, and it will come back in a matter of seconds. Any tag. You are not allowed to run those. And of course, there's a digital record of every single tag that you run. You have to receive a certification to do so. The people that are doing this on the streets of Minneapolis, they need to be criminally prosecuted, and whoever gave them access to the system, because Aaron was talking about it, who was it? Somehow or another, they have access to DHSMV. They have access to FCIC, NCIC. One, two, three, or both, or all three. I don't know which. Definitely DHSMV, Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. That's what we call it in the state of Florida. I don't know what they call it in Minneapolis or Minnesota. But regardless, they have access to a database that it is criminal for them to access. Who gave them access is a criminal, and them accessing it every day and running every tag. Every time they run a tag, it's a criminal offense. And they're sitting there creating their own border checkpoints in galactic hypocrisy because now they are ICE. They are now Border Patrol. They have created their own border wall. They have created, and by the way, they want to vet everybody going through. Isn't that the essence of who they're trying to stop? So, I mean, I don't even know if I can put this into a sentence or a paragraph. But if you think about this, they want to stop the people who want to vet the people that are coming into our country by vetting the people. So that they are suddenly for vetting people coming into their community, but are against the people vetting the people coming into the United States of America. Think about how stupid you have to be. Well, you saw the woman. She's got the scraggly hair, doesn't look like she's bathed in a month. Typical leftist, leftard woman. She's not even thinking about how hypocritical she is. Because you should have open borders. I should be allowed in, I should be allowed out. If you want child rapists in our country, then you should certainly allow ICE through your border wall if you want criminal child sex traffickers to come through our southern border wall, correct? All right, so off of this for a minute, let's go into this has something to do with ICE. It has something to do with illegal immigration. Andrew Branca show video, SBA loan rule change from the Trump administration ends foreign ownership exploiting U.S. small business subsidies. Play it for me.
The Indians were shocked to learn that suddenly the Small Business Administration is not going to give them access to taxpayer subsidized loans in America anymore. Look at this. This is an Indian account writing this. We're writing to let you know the SBA issued a policy notice today that has surprised many of us because it changes a very long-standing exploit, cheat code, that has allowed legal permanent residents, green card holders, to be owners of businesses that obtain SBA loans. Starting March 1st, the SBA will no longer allow anything other than 100% ownership by U.S. citizens. Make America great again. Legal permanent residents will not be allowed to own any of the business for SBA loan eligibility purposes. How do Indians come to own 70% of the hotels and gas stations in America? With our own money, with SBA subsidized loans. They say, hey, we're Indians. We got dark skin. We qualify as a minority. A poor minority. They own 70% of the hotels and gas stations in America, and we're supposed to believe they are an oppressed, poverty-ridden minority. And they've been exploiting the generosity, the high trust of America, the low guardrails we put on our social services programs.
You can bring it back. So that you have to watch India closely right now because they just came up with Ursula von der Leyen. They just had an immigration deal with her so that now Indians can, in unfettered fashion, migrate into the European Union. No, but and by the way, remember Ursula von der Leyen is not elected. She's appointed. She's not elected. These are unelected people making decisions. Again, it's all over the European Union, all over the United States, except for our officials are elected, but they get elected under false pretenses, or they get elected in fraudulent elections. But I digress. So you just got to keep an eye on India right now because India, for some reason, wants to mass migrate all of a sudden. All of a sudden, they are very interested in mass migrating because they are the largest populist or second largest populist, one of the two. I don't know which one's number one, China or India. I think it's India. The number one population in the world, 1.4 billion people live there. You always remember, you always keep numbers in the back of your mind. Keep numbers in the back of your mind. Just keep it really simplistic. Let's pretend that America has 400 million people, which I believe that it does, by the way, living in it. 400 million people. Remember what a billion is 1,000 millions. We have 400 million people. They have 1.4. They have 1 billion more people living, 1,000 millions more people living in their country than we do. And suddenly, of course, now they're wanting to migrate wholesale into the European Union, which probably also means the United States of America. So we need to make sure that we're keeping strong borders, people in office. Hopefully the midterms go our way. But anyway, so India, many Indian citizens in the United States of America have been getting these SBA loans because how it works is this. Through Democrats, SBA loans have been more favorable towards minorities. In other words, you're more likely to qualify for an SBA loan, Small Business Administration loan, if you are dark-skinned. Does that sound like racism to you? If you are, and it all gets stunted in that direction, it all gets leveraged in that direction to pull away the influence of Americans, white and black. Because, small business loans, on the whole, they're given to some black people, but a lot of black people don't qualify for them for whatever reason. So you have to have some sort of qualification for them. But it definitely takes away from Americans, especially white Americans. You are less likely, like you are less likely to get a new university. You're less likely, whatever. And this is all put in place to de-influence, to take away the influence of white Americans. You don't want to have because white Americans don't elect Democrats. They do, but not as much as Republicans. So they want to de-influence the white Americans and get a lot of influence in the communities that will vote for them, i.e. the Somali community. The reason why they're able to get away with somewhere between $10 and $30 billion worth of fraud that we know about so far. And it's way more than that. It's hundreds of billions. with $350 million a year pouring out of Minneapolis St. Paul Airport directly to Somalia every year. Exactly the exact same thing there. But all of these loans, all of these federal loan guarantees, federal programs, NGOs are all stunted towards illegal immigrants, towards this is SBA loans. They say that they won't give them to illegals. But we just saw last night, there's a cop in New Orleans who was an illegal alien. So he got through backgrounds. So if you can get through the backgrounds from a police agency, then you can get through backgrounds for an SBA loan or any federal loan. But anyway, they want everybody who's in their voting block to receive that money because they want to de-emphasize white America, de-emphasize traditional America, white, black, Hispanic, just real Americans is what I'm talking about. They want to absolutely de-emphasize us and emphasize illegals because illegals are going to vote for them or legal green card holders. So what Trump has done is said, you know what? First of all, this is just blatant discrimination. Nothing should be predicated on the color of skin, period. If you are, you're still a racist. I mean, regardless, I'm doing this now to make things, equivalent because of the atrocities committed by white men, which are far, far smaller than people think. I mean, if you actually look at the history of things, I don't think I brought it tonight. I didn't bring it tonight, but I've got an expose on slavery too. It's all crap. It's all absolute crap. It really is. The black history in America is crap. If you look into it, look at Rosa Parks. Do me a favor, look at Rosa Parks when you get a chance. Because everybody thinks that was just a spontaneous action. Rosa Parks goes on a bus, stands her ground, refuses to move to the back of the bus. Okay, she was a political operative. It was all orchestrated. All you gotta do is look into it. It's all a fact, by the way. Everything's a lie. Everything you've heard about slavery is a lie. Everything you heard about World War I, World War II, it's all garbage once you actually deep dive into it. But anyway, but regardless of all those things, what Trump is doing is saying, you know what? We're going to make this thing an even playing field. And then, you know what? It'd be weird because the Small Business Administration, I believe is a part of the American federal government. So why are we loaning all of our taxpayer dollars to Indian businesses? Well, I mean, why are we doing that? I mean, I have nothing against, Indian people or anything like that. I don't have anything against them. And those that are here with green cards and doing it right, no problem whatsoever. But this is for Americans. It's time for everybody. It's time for our government to actually favor Americans. Why does that even need to be said? Akin to, why do I need to argue to only have women in women's restrooms and men in men's restrooms? Why do I even need to argue for this? Why do I need to argue for the favorability of Americans? All right, so moving on. Let's do some more on Democrats tonight. Scott Jennings, just individual Democrats. I think I'm starting with Mamdani. I got a couple slides on Mamdani. Going to Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, the little boy that we showed last night. Back to Minnesota and their autism care programs. Soros-funded Somali fraudsters. Virginia new gun laws. Dearborn, Michigan has begun to decorating for Ramadan. Let me see what else we got. Gavin Newsom's high-speed rail. He came out with another high-speed rail announcement today. Homosexual activist Robert Garcia, who's a congressman out of California. And one little thing on Billie Eilish. It'll be fun. We'll get to all that. All right, so here we go. Scott Jennings video. After a police officer was stabbed, we'll see the video of it, while on duty in New York City, Mayor Zohran Mamdani visited the hospital. Not of the cop, but the person who was stabbed. Play it for me.
Why are Democrats more committed to demonizing law enforcement than in defending you, law-abiding citizens? And now another clear example from New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, who recently made a hospital visit, not to see a police officer, but to see the man who stabbed a police officer with a knife. Here's cut 14.
And as you said, I spoke with the Chakraborty family and I visited Chavez in the hospital. And there is no family should have to endure this kind of pain.
Baba, no! Hey, put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife move! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife down!
That audio you heard there, that's the audio, the sound of someone stabbing a police officer with a knife. So a police officer in New York is attacked in the line of duty, and Zoran Mamdani shows up to comfort the attacker. That is your Democratic Party, America, in 2026. They have chosen a side. It is not the police.
They have chosen a side, and it's not yours. It's not your side. It's this. None of us are going to attack anybody with a knife. None of us are going to attack a police officer. The people who support Democrats do those things. We've already seen it. The two people who got killed by ICE were attacking police officers, and who did Democrats side with? We just need to understand who our opposition is, and it's actually quite easy, folks. You're like, what are you talking about, revolution? No, I'm just talking about federalism. All we need to do, and I'm going to get specifically back to this video in just a second, but all I'm talking about is federalism. All we need to do is isolate ourselves from them. Tom, that doesn't sound very American. Are you crazy? First of all, it sounds very biblical. Come out from among them and be separate, says the Lord. 2 Corinthians 6:17. Do not be yoked together with unbelievers. For what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness? Aaron, can you side by side that real quick? So I have Mamdani sitting right next to me. I can't be yoked together with this. Do not be yoked together with unbelievers. What do righteousness and wickedness have in common, or fellowship can light have with darkness? I can't have any fellowship with this guy. This is a guy asinine enough to say this. You all saw the video. Is there any discrepancy in the video? Is there any correction that needs to be made? You have this Garcia, whatever his last name was, attacking a police officer with a knife and stabbing the police officer. He gets injured while he's stabbing a police officer, and Mamdani's response to that is no family should have to go through this. He's not talking about the police officer. He's talking about the person who attacked the police officer's family. This is asinine incoherence, and that's what it means to be a Democrat in 2026. You have the video. You have the video. It's irrefutable, indisputable video evidence of a man attacking a police officer with a knife, unprovoked. And Mamdani goes and supports, visits the attacker in the hospital and says that his family should never have to go through this. Never have to go through what? I mean, I wonder if Democrats ever think 2 inches in front of their freaking stupid faces. Do you ever think about it? I mean, family shouldn't have to go through what? It's the same. It goes along the same lines of, that ICE is causing fear. Well, if you robbed a bank and then you are now in fear that at any moment you could be arrested. That's the fear you should be under. If you are an illegal, you know that you could be deported any time. That's the fear you should be under. So of course you're under fear. It's asinine incoherence to think otherwise. It makes absolutely no sense. And if Aaron could talk tonight, I would ask him, Aaron, help me make it make sense. He can't, and he can't talk really, so he's out. But I'm just saying, that's how it is. I mean, I really, what in the world? If you're a Democrat, please explain it to me. Get on the Rumble chat and explain it to me. Why? What is it that no family should have to go through this? All right, on with more on Mamdani. Paul A. Sapula video, Mayor Mamdani says he's offering free legal services for, let's see, play it for me.
To Haitian New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. If you have temporary protected status, you've been forced to live in limbo for the last year, unsure whether this country would allow you to stay and build your lives with dignity. Temporary protected status for Haitians was set to end today, February 3rd. Last night, a federal judge temporarily blocked that termination while the case moves forward. But let's be clear, the federal government will appeal, and this temporary protection is not permanent. You deserve stability and safety, and New York City stands with you. Right now, we urge you to speak with an immigration lawyer and explore every possible legal pathway you may qualify for, whether asylum, adjustment of status, or any other path to permanent residency. New York City offers free, trusted immigration legal support with services in over 200 languages. You can call directly by calling this number. City Hall stands with you.
All right, so there you go. Now, again, here you have a bunch of Haitians that are under temporary protected status brought in by the Biden administration. Now, they are told, again, these people are living under fear. You should be. If you're afraid of being sent back to Haiti, you should be, because you are under, correct me if I'm wrong, temporary. Does not temporary mean temporary? Doesn't temporary mean for a short period of time or for a limited amount of time? Isn't that what temporary means? Isn't there a very different definition between temporary and permanent? Would everybody agree? And the judge has now extenuated this, giving them some sort of injunction that because the temporary protected status is supposed to end today, which was yesterday, that was supposed to end yesterday. and a judge has put an injunction on it, and now it is extended it forever, however long a period of time it is. But here's the thing. You had all this time, and Zoran is offering, by the way, just make sure everybody understands this. This is not just New York City tax dollars. When they're broke, they're $12 billion in debt. Something like, what is that, California? They're billions of dollars in debt. But anyway, I know California's at least $12 billion in debt. But anyway, I think they're way more than that. But I think they're hundreds of billions in debt. But anyway, they're billions of dollars in debt. So it's not NYC's money. It's coming from NGO money, which is spent, which is financed via our tax dollars. And all these NGOs are getting our tax dollars, and it's used to fight politically against us. And here's an example of it. And by the way, even if they aren't through NGOs, this is through federal dollars. And that's what I was talking about a minute ago. It's not a hard solution. We don't need to be like, people don't need to be talking in these boisterous, machismo voices of revolution, take up on, you don't need to do any of that. We just need to have a federalist system where no federal dollars go to states. None. And if you had no federal dollars that were subsidizing these states so they could do their left-hard programs, they would all stop doing the left-hard programs. You and I are paying for the high-speed rail in California. You and I are paying for Medi-Cal in California. You and I are paying for the high-speed rail in California. You and I are paying for those things, not Californian citizens. All of us, Californian citizens who their federal tax dollars are. You and I are paying for all this. And if all that stopped, there wouldn't be any more of this asinine idiocy. It wouldn't be going on because there'd be no money to do it. You wouldn't see the ridiculous programs under Brandon Johnson in Chicago, J.P. Pritzker in Illinois. It wouldn't happen because they wouldn't have the hundreds of billions of dollars per year to do so. And we're $38 trillion in debt. But anyway, so if you know your temporary protective status is going to run out, what should you be doing? Zoran Mandami is offering free lawyers to do it now. You could have done it a year ago. This was under the Biden administration. You had 4 years to do it. You've done nothing. You could have gotten a free immigration attorney under Mamdani then, or under Eric Adams then. You didn't do it then. You could have been looking for asylum. You could have been looking to extend this yourself. You could have been looking for a green card. You could have been looking for a worker's permit, whatever it may be, some sort of visa. You could have done it. You didn't have done anything. Just like none of the people in Somalia ever do anything. None of the Somalian immigrants ever do anything either. They just depend on Democrats coming through for them because they vote en masse for Democrats. All right, let's go on to the next one. Johnny MAGA video. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, currently under fire for spending $165,000 in taxpayer funds on a luxury SUV for himself, is now implicated in a massive corruption scheme. What a shock. What a shock. Eric, you side by side it. This is him and his girlfriend who's pregnant outside of marriage. Revealed his baby mama's defunct nonprofit received $100,000 taxpayer funds. So he buys $165,000 SUV for himself, sends $100,000 to his baby mama's now defunct nonprofit, but don't worry, she got the $100,000 before it went defunct, in taxpayer funds, while they were secretly dating, $80,000 of it coming one day before they publicly announced their relationship. Play for me.
Mrs. Scott started working as the director of operations for Be More Empowered in September 2021. She started dating the mayor in 2022. Her employer began to receive money through the Baltimore city government in 2023, totaling $34,950 taxpayer dollars by 2024. And that's not all. The Downtown Partnership of Baltimore awarded Be More Empowered $80,000 through a taxpayer-funded program in July 2023, a day before the Scotts went public with their relationship through a pregnancy announcement. The taxpayer-backed Baltimore Children and Youth Fund sent Be More Empowered $62,500 from July 2023 to June 2024. Meanwhile, Be More Empowered has not filed a tax form since 2023, meaning it's almost a year behind its required filings with the IRS. And none of its previous tax forms mention Mrs. Scott's position or salary. Plus, Be More Empowered is listed on the Maryland government's charity database as delinquent.
So this one is a bit of a head scratcher.
That's Linda Parsons, a professor at the University of Alabama specializing in nonprofit accounting. She said Be More Empowered needs to explain how it's managing taxpayer money. Mrs. Scott lists on her LinkedIn that she stopped working at Be More Empowered in September, which was the same month the nonprofit announced an organizational pause and was sued for not paying rent. Attempts to reach Mrs. Scott for comment were unsuccessful. Be More Empowered received $25,000 from the Baltimore City government in 2023, stemming from the Federal American Rescue Plan Act. In 2024, Be More Empowered received $9,950 listed for the Youth Works program, which runs under the Mayor's Office of Employment Development. The $80,000 Be More Empowered received from the Downtown Partnership came through the Boost program, which is funded through a combination of private and public money. Mayor Scott sent $1.6 million in ARPA money to downtown partnerships in 2022 to help back the Boost program Be More Empowered benefited from 1 year later. A spokesman for Downtown Partnership told Spotlight on Maryland that Be More Empowered spent the $80,000 in accordance with its contract, which he said he could not provide. A point that Parsons questioned.
When you have government funds, the contract is not available is not an option. Once you agree to take government funds, whether from your city or state or federal government, it's your obligation to be as transparent as possible.
The Boost grant to Be More Empowered was intended for the organization to spend on a new office space downtown on North Howard Street. However, a previous Spotlight on Maryland investigation found they never moved into that location, instead opening an office on North Charles Street, where they were sued in September for not paying rent and since moved out. Downtown Partnership's president, Shalonda Stokes, has a salary of $317,000. Stokes' Instagram shows several photos and videos of her with Mrs. Scott, including attending a Beyonce concert together last summer in a group that also included the wife of Maryland Governor Wes Moore. A spokesman for BCYF emphasized that one of its grantees chose Be More Empowered as its fiscal sponsor. The spokesman did not respond to questions about how that money was spent and what...
Yeah, it's shocking that the person asked to interview refused to respond to any questions. So once again, the president of the nonprofit, which awarded the $80,000 to Mayor Scott's now wife, baby mama, earns over $300,000 per year. What was her name, Aaron? Shalonda? Something like
Shalonda,
yeah, Shalonda. And was pictured drinking with Mrs. Scott at a Beyonce concert last summer. Ms. Scott's nonprofit is delinquent in filing their tax forms. They're also delinquent in paying rents, and they're now defunct. Failed to disclose Ms. Scott's salary and was sued and evicted for not paying rent. These are wonderful institutions and wonderful people directly linked to the mayor of Baltimore, who's giving money directly to his girlfriend. That is the status of Democratic Party politics and the sycophants that are Republicans that do the same thing or don't expose it because they're afraid to be called names. That person is not Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz doing a great job. Nick Sorter video breaking CMS Administrator Dr. Oz has revealed the state of Minnesota is spending, it's a little over average here, spending over 13,000% more in autism care than initially expected. Remember, this is a state of 6 million people. Remember that when you hear the numbers. Oz says parents are taking bribes from fraudulent autism centers to sign their kids up as autistic. $3 million was expected to be spent by the state. What was spent? Remember, this is a state of 6 million people. All right, so Florida is 23 million. Texas is 39 million. California allegedly is 40 million. New York's 19 million. This is a state of 6 million people. And remember I couldn't remember what business it was that Florida had 58 and they had, in Minnesota had, I can't remember how many it was, an exponential amount of businesses. But anyway, that absolutely made no sense. But anyway, so $3 million.
Hospice
centers.
Yeah.
Hospice centers. Thank you, Aaron. Hospice centers. In Minnesota, I can't remember what it was, but it was literally like hundreds, I think. Or even 1,000.
No, it was thousands. It was thousands. Like 3,400.
Yeah, it was like 3,000 hospice centers. And Florida, which has an elderly population, has 58.
In the state.
In the entire state.
Yeah.
In the entire freaking state. And you just have to ask, who are the people that are in charge of the accountability here? And by the way, both in Washington and Minnesota, and the Republicans who hold congressional and Senate seats and mayorships inside of Minnesota. Where are you people? Where you have thousands of hospice centers in Minnesota and Florida has 58? 58? Obviously, you don't need any more. Florida has 58 and we are, 5 times your population. Then you should need about, 10 to 12. Yeah. And instead they have thousands of hospice centers. They're all Somali run. Nobody's there. Just like with Ilhan Omar's winery. And she's still walking around free right now. Filed $5 million of income from a winery that doesn't exist. That's already been proven not to exist. But anyway, so they said that the $3 million was expected to be spent. That's about right. I mean, on autism, I would say. But they just spent a little over that. They ended up spending $400 million subsidizing autism care. Play it for me, Will.
Are stealing the care that Americans deserve. Let's switch to Minnesota for a second. Minnesota expected to spend $3 million for autism. It's now $400 million. Why? Because everybody in the community signed their kids up as though they're autistic. Why? You were paying them. These moms literally took bribes to lie that their kids had autism. Rob, if one child in the neighborhood has autism, they get care, they get support, we can give them money. If every kid in the neighborhood has autism, nobody has autism because you can't get to a provider. Right. And we need
$400 million in autism care, then every single citizen has autism. That makes absolutely no sense. Why does it take Donald J. Trump and Dr. Oz to expose this? This has been going on for years. It's been going on in years. I can't remember. I think it may have been California with hospice or Minnesota with hospice, one of the two, I believe. Or maybe I think it was hospice care in L.A. Their hospice expenditures have increased by 7 times in the last 5 years. Their population hasn't gone up 1 person, but their hospice care has increased 7 times. It's all fake. Everything is fake, folks. I mean, everything is fake. This I don't usually do just kind of generalized speeches. It's not super generalized. It's from Senator Eric Schmidt, I believe out of Missouri. But anyway, he gives a speech on Capitol, Breitbart News video. And it was so good because Eric Schmidt tells off the co-president of the woke Soros-funded NGO trying to block and tackle for Somali fraudsters. This was too good of a speech and too good of a takedown not to put on the podcast. Play it for me.
Are deportations racist?
Are deportations racist? It depends. They can be racist, okay. For sure.
Is ICE racist?
I think the practices of ICE right now are abhorrent and should be abhorrent, exactly as you said, for American values. I think the practices of ICE right now are...
But ICE itself, the organization, is a racist.
The enforcing immigration and customs laws per se is not racist. What ICE actually is doing, I believe, can fairly be characterized as racist. Yes, sir.
All right. I asked this because we did a little bit of digging into Public Citizen and found 2 things. One is you're funded by George Soros, correct?
The Open Society Foundation is one of our funders, yes.
And you call just about everything you don't like racist.
That is not true, but...
Okay, well, I'm going to give you a few examples.
Sure.
On December 11th, 2019, Public Citizen tweeted that the banking sector as a whole is racist. On August 17th, 2021, Public Citizen sent in a press release that algorithmic racism was a major problem and that we need to start creating anti-racist algorithms. On December 23rd, 2020, Public Citizen tweeted that our healthcare system is a racist abomination. On April 7th, 2023, Public Citizen tweeted that expelling 2 Tennessee state reps for violating the legislature's rule was racism. On April 15th, 2021, Public Citizen tweeted that law enforcement in this country has been overrun by racism. On June 25th, 2020, Public Citizen tweeted, "Racism is the reason D.C. is not a state." On January 15th, 2019, Public Citizen tweeted that asking about citizenship status on the census was racist. On August 24th, 2020, Public Citizen tweeted, "Defund our racist, hyper-militarized, murderous American police force." On July 10th, 2020, Public Citizen tweeted that law and order is a racist dog whistle. Do you stand by these statements?
Well, I appreciate the depths to which you've gone of research. In the context of all those statements, yes, sir.
So all of those things are racist?
If you want to go through them, we can talk.
So here's, sure. I'm really glad. Hold on. I'm glad for this moment of clarity because a lot of witnesses would try to sidestep that.
That's correct.
But what you have shown in the questioning we've seen before, in just these examples, the public interest isn't your interest at all. It is not your interest at all. You use racism as an attempt to intimidate people to get your way. And it's not 2020 anymore. The American people are over it. So what you're going to find is we are going to prosecute, and it has nothing to do with race. We're going to prosecute because fraud was committed on a level that is so offensive to this country. Your words that don't mean anything aren't going to stop what's coming. And I want you to take that back to George Soros and all these ridiculous funders you have to try to muddle the issue, because justice is coming. And by the way, if I have it my way, we will denaturalize all these fraudsters and send them home. Mr. Chairman.
And that's exactly what needs to happen. Listen, it needs to be what I call the double D. Denaturalization and deportation. Aaron, do me a favor and like blow that thing up if you can.
Okay.
Even if he gets rid of Senator Schmidt there, just blow it up. There we go. That's good. That's good. So I had to go over some of the ones that he couldn't include all of them in his speech there. But of course, we all know that racism is a dog whistle of the left. Well, that is basically, they use that as an excuse for anything they want to legislate into existence, any totalitarianism that they want to legislate into existence, make policy, make procedure, make part of their agenda. They call it anything that they want to actually, make a part of the public forum. They will use racism as a vehicle to do so. I mean, you just have to look at these things. Aaron made fun of this one. Algorithms are racist. If they're racist, then they're racist towards whites. I'm the only one who hasn't benefited from algorithms. People like me. You have Alex Jones completely banned off of social media. The president completely banned off of social media. Bongino at one time completely banned off of social media. Numerous Nick Fuentes completely banned off of social media. Who am I missing? There's other huge names, obviously, that have been banned off of social media. Crowder banned off of social media. The only algorithmic racism there is towards white men. Anything but vigorous. This is what Public Citizen, funded by George Soros, claims is racism. Anything but vigorous support for Ilhan Omar is racist. A border wall is racist. Being pro-life is racist. I'm trying to save 400,000 black babies per year and I'm racist. Capitalism is racist, said by the people who are living off the teat of capitalism. Checking citizenship on the census is racist. Claiming China started COVID is racist, even though China started COVID. Donald Trump is racist. Fiscal responsibility is racist. This is this organization, and this is an NGO, so who pays for it? That would be you and me. You and I pay for Public Citizen. Donald Trump is racist. Law enforcement writing tickets, I believe, is racist. Not defunding the police is racist. Not making DC a state is racist. The American health care system is racist. The banking system is racist. The Bureau of Land Management is racist. The Department of Justice is racist. The Electoral College is racist. The expulsion of 2 obstructionists from the Tennessee State House of Representatives is racist. The filibuster is racist. And the term law and order is racist. And this is, again, what they use as leverage. And this is what all leftists do. This is what Muslims do. This is what liberal Jews do. This is what liberal white people do. This is what liberal black people do. They come in and they establish a beachhead. And if you attack that beachhead, you're racist. That's what happens. They form the Somali community in Minneapolis, brought in by the Obamas and the Bidens. They establish their beachhead of a Somali community where there's billions of dollars in fraud. If you attack the fraud, because that's what Senator Schmidt was talking about, if you attack the fraud, you're a racist. Has anybody said one word about the color of the skin of the people who are committing the fraud? By the way, they wouldn't have to be worried about us racists if they hadn't committed the fraud. Because what would we be bothering them about if they hadn't committed the crime? Even if we were all racist, which we're not, but let's pretend like we are for just a minute. And we're all a bunch of roving white men racist, right? Going after black people. Well, how am I going to go after you Somali people if you hadn't committed a crime? What am I going to go after you for? The crime of being black? Obviously not a crime. So how ridiculous is it? The only reason why you popped up on the radar is because you are committing mass fraud, where you're supposed to be getting $3 million a year for autism care in the state of Minnesota. Because of Somali fraudsters, you're getting $400 million per year. That's what's being attacked. Public Citizen, funded by George Soros, because that's the name of the organization, is Public Citizen. And again, all of this is about leveraging power away from the right. Leveraging power away from right-wing white people, black people, Hispanic people, and all of us right-wingers, leveraging the power away from us, using the fear tactic of if we oppose left-wingers, we're going to be called racist. That's all that it is a color revolutionary technique. is that if you attack leftism and the person that you're attacking happens to be of color, then you're a racist. No, I'm not attacking their color. I don't ever say a word about their color. I'm talking about what they do. All right, let's go on to the next one. Speaking of leftist idiocy, Jake video, Virginia's new gun laws. Listen to this. Play it for me.
Well, I bet you haven't seen this. Do you know who this is? Probably not. Don't worry, we'll get there. But to start, Virginia is introducing new legislation to ban assault weapons. And the definition of assault weapon they're using is, quote, any semi-automatic centerfire rifle or pistol that expels multiple or single rounds. Oh, also any weapon that has 10 or more rounds in its magazine, which FYI is most of them. They're trying to make owning a gun that meets that criteria a class 1 felony, which by the way carries a sentence of up to life in prison and a $100,000 fine. It's crazy because at the same time they're passing this, they're also trying to pass the elimination of mandatory minimum sentences for all felonies. So someone can go and murder another person and then get freed, but you can't own the weapon to defend yourself from that person once they're freed on the street and want to come after you. Although the craziest part about this is the person who submitted this bill. And this is where we get to this gentleman. Meet State Senator Saddam Aslan Salim, originally from Bangladesh. I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. A guy from Bangladesh moves to America, gets elected, and then tells natural-born citizens that their constitution doesn't matter. Frankly, if you're not born in America, you shouldn't be allowed to hold office at any level in America. Virginia is the oldest state in this country. It was founded in 1607, and they're about to be disarmed by a guy from Bangladesh. I wonder if all the newfound Second Amendment respecters who were just defending Alex Preddy carrying his gun in Minnesota are going to come out in opposition to this.
This perfectly exemplifies what I'm talking about. So you have the Democrats bring in the aliens to make our laws defunct. They bring in the aliens that actually, whether it be Ilhan Omar, whether it be Rashida Tlaib, whether it be that absolute weirdo wacko, I can't remember his name right now. Aaron, what's that weirdo wacko with the weird name, talks in the heavy duty Indian accent that I make fun of all the time? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The guy who owned the laboratory and keeps filing
Shri Thanadar.
Yes, Shri Thanadar, that whack job. And he keeps filing just absolutely crazy things on the House floor. Keeps what was one of the last ones that he did? But anyway, if I think of it, I'll say it. But anyway, so you have the person who's actually instituting these laws in Virginia, Commonwealth of Virginia, Saddam Onslaught Salim from Bangladesh. So the Democrats actually import the people who are going to try to turn over or make defunct the Constitution of the United States of America. Because none of this, by the way, should ever pass muster in the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court just allowed Proposition 50 out of the state of California, which enables them to gerrymander their electoral map. Isn't that great? Which, by the way, that we should be doing the exact same thing in every state, but Republicans don't have the balls to do it. We should be gerrymandering every single state and eliminating Democrat seats before the 2026 election, which people were trying, which they were doing, but Republicans were making deals with Democrats to not do it in their states, while California, the largest state, just eliminated 5 Republican seats, so we're down 5 right now. It's over. I mean, that's I'm not saying the election's over. I'm saying it's over. It's done. We just lost 5 seats. I don't know if it's Darrell Issa or whoever else is gone now. They just gerrymandered them out of existence. But what they do is they bring in the illegals to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America so a Democrat doesn't get credited for it. So basically this new law in the state of Virginia, which by the way violates the Second Amendment, it should be overturned immediately at the Supreme Court. Virginia new gun bills criminalize lawful gun owners while easing penalties for violent crime. Under SB 749, this is under Abigail Spanberger, who ran as a moderate for governor of the state of Virginia, many commonly owned firearms will be classified as assault firearms. What now qualifies as an assault firearm? Based on features like pistol grip, threaded barrel, folding stock, or detachable magazine. Okay, now, and again, Democrats, whenever that's, I played it right, not for this reason. I just played it because I think it's funny. But Kathy Hochul is talking recently about semi-automatic because semi-automatic sounds so cool. They have no idea what semi-automatic means. For some reason, they are not able to differentiate using the word semi. They call semi-automatic, I've heard Democrats say before, a fully automatic semi-automatic weapon. I've heard the Democrats say that before because they have no idea what semi-automatic means. So what they've done is they've classified basically all firearms as assault. And by all, I mean anything maybe but your traditional wheel gun revolver maybe. But everything else is now assault is a assault weapon because if it can be shot repeatedly without having to reload it. So how is your 9mm assault rifle an assault weapon inside of Virginia? Be ready. I mean, everybody in Virginia needs to be ready. There needs to be a lot of lawsuits being filed right now because everything is now an assault weapon. If you have a gun that can repeatedly fire, in other words, something that fires and extracts the shell and seats the next round, that's considered to be an assault rifle, an assault weapon. I keep getting rifle in my head. So basically any firearm. What that means in practice, future sale, purchase, manufacture, import, transfer, or possession, class 1 misdemeanor, up to 1 year in jail, $2,500 fine, plus a 3-year gun ban after conviction. Would you live in that state? This is where the federalist system comes in, and many, many Republicans are going to have to leave states. Because these states need to be basically like you would get rid of a skin tag. You simply put your piece of flaw around that skin tag right at the root of it, and you just draw it tight. The skin tag will fall off in a couple days because it has no infusion of life. That's what needs to happen in these leftist cities. I mean, in these leftist states and cities. It's basically you tie them off, you embargo them, you move out, and they get no federal dollars. They will suddenly become conservative because leftism doesn't work unless you're bankrupting the country. Leftism only works if you're $38 trillion in debt and you're being endlessly subsidized from printable, non-existent tax revenue. That's the only way leftism ever works. It doesn't even work then because all that happens is the scavengers of leftist politicians simply gather around the money and pick at the carcass like vultures. People like Gavin Newsom, who doesn't make nearly enough money to live in a $9 million fully secured ranch and own a winery. But let's celebrate here with the citizens of Dearborn, Michigan, shall we? American AF video. Here's Dearborn, Michigan. They've begun decorating for Ramadan. Play it for me. There it is. It's just little slices because me and you are strong in the Lord and in the power of his might, putting on the whole armor of God, Ephesians 6:10. But you and I are strong, so we're holding the line. We are the restraining. So we don't look like Europe yet, but little enclaves of Democratic Party-run cities are beginning to look just like Europe, being overrun. As J.D. Vance said, will the UK be the very first fully empowered Muslim nuclear country? Appears so. Germany will not form an army right now because all their military-aged men are Muslims and they don't want to put AR-15s in their hands and military equipment in their hands. That's a fact, by the way. That comes from Chancellor Merz himself, by the way, to Tucker Carlson. All right, let's go to California. Home and David video. We're gonna run both these right in a row, Will. So the first one's Home and David Hamati video. Second one is Wall Street Apes. Here's Gavin Newsom on the high-speed rail in California. Play it for me.
So I'm here in the Central Valley in Wasco, right near Shafter, and we just made an announcement of our progress here on the high-speed rail system. We're now in the process of starting to lay track, 119-mile first phase, fully funded because of the investments we'll make through the Cap and Invest program through 2045. 1,700 people every single day, union jobs, go to work on this project. 58 large-scale structures have been complete, 29 others underway, 99% of the environmental work done. All of the hard work behind us, now we're going to see the fruits of that. We're going to start seeing precisely what you see here. Real tracks, real progress.
Down to L.A. in 2.5 hours, $55. In California, we're still debating the high-speed rail. What a joke.
Well, finally, California is going to get it right with this new high-speed rail.
I personally have been supportive of the high-speed rail project since my time as mayor of the city and county of San Francisco.
The project is no longer a $33 billion project. The project's years and years behind. The project's wildly over budget. That doesn't mean it's a bad idea.
We do have the capacity to complete a high-speed rail link between Merced and Bakersfield. Now, I know some critics are going to say, well, that's a train to nowhere.
We have a real federal partner in our high-speed rail system, an incredible opportunity to finish the work. High-speed rail was mentioned. $4.2 billion is being requested of the legislature to finish the job. Someone who's all in on the high-speed rail. The high-speed rail, not as a rail project, but an economic development project. $3.86 billion. It's about damn time we have a high-speed rail system.
You see how despicable these people are. You and I would be feeling guilty if we actually went up to a podium and continue to espouse what he knows is a lie and what he knows is a fantasy. So he said, we're now, after all of these years now, here we are 17 years later. I believe the project went from $16 billion to $133 billion. But now all the hard work is behind us. That's what he says, behind us. And they are ready to begin phase one after 17 years and $130 billion. That's what it costs. I don't know what's come in. But anyway, and you know, you saw a moment ago where he said he's speaking like an ARC church pastor, we have a federal partner in the uptalk. So he has a federal partner. That was Joe Biden. Notice that was 2021. Joe Biden has sunk, I don't know how many billions of dollars into this high-speed rail system that doesn't exist. But and where is all that money gone? It's gone in the pocket of some Democratic Party politicians and NGOs so they can enrich themselves. The NGOs are fully staffed by Democrats. All Democrats enriching themselves on the dime of the American taxpayer. But anyway, so this is phase one. After 17 years, we've gotten to phase one. I wonder when phase two starts. Is phase two, does that start at the 34-year mark? Because it looks like we're going in 17-year increments here. So phase one is 17 years. So the next one would have to be 34 years from now, be phase two. So he says they're going to start laying rail. So let's see if that's even true. Aaron will remind me. Will remind me. We'll have to check in 1 year. Let's see if one track has been put down in 1 year. Can anybody guess whether or not there will be or not? Shall we? Should we guess? All right, that's it. 10-16. I got more on Democrats and stuff. Just got a lot of stuff. I mean, got stuff on Billie Eilish, got some other stuff. I've got a whole section on vaccines that I've got to get to because you got to hear it because more and more stuff keeps coming out. But anyway, appreciate you guys. All right, we got any rants tonight?
Yeah, we got 4.
We got 4 rants. So here we go.
Order in the underscore court donated $5. What's the most amount of Slurpees you've had in a single day?
I think I've only had 2. If there's more than 2, it's been 3. And I did end up recently, I almost asked my son or his girlfriend to give me a Slurpee while they were out after I already had 2, but I think I felt guilty and I didn't get another one. But anyway, I basically have 2 every Sunday. 2 Dr. Pepper Slurpees from Racetrack every Sunday. All right, let's go to the next one.
CA1960 donated $5. Thanks for the truth.
Anytime, CA1960, love you. Appreciate you. Go to the next one for me.
Nated Dad 1 donated $50. Was there any truth in the drone that hit the USS Abraham ship from Iran?
No, I don't know. I didn't even know about it. Do you have any idea? I have not. I must have totally and completely missed that story. I was checking up till when I stopped prepping for the podcast, somewhere around, say 7:15 tonight, somewhere along that line. So if it happened after that, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. So I couldn't tell you whether there's any truth to it or not. I have not heard Aaron. I hear Aaron tapping away right now, so he'll find out in a second, but I don't know anything about it. That's the thing. All right, go to the next one for me if you can, Aaron.
Jules, 21 hours, donated $10. Feel better, Aaron.
There you go. Feel better, Aaron. Feel better, Aaron. In Jesus' mighty name. We got another one?
That's it.
That's it. All right, guys. Appreciate you. Love you. Back here tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. As always, stick around for the postgame. You got to, Eric, are you able? You can't side by side. You can't side by side the post game. But anyway, if I could show you the pick from you got to watch the post game. If you don't watch anything, make sure you watch the first video from the post game. Love you guys. Back here tomorrow night as always at 9 o'clock p.m. Love you. God bless you.
help you?
Heard you have stolen land. You want to give it back?
Oh, that was just for TV.
Well, fuck you then, poser.
The fact is that all you need to do to determine sex is a cheek swab. If you're an XX or an XY, you're either a boy or a girl. It's that simple. This isn't complicated. It's not like we haven't known what women and men were for not just a matter of years, but decades and centuries and thousands of years before that. The fact that we're having this conversation and this debate just absolutely epitomizes the left's ongoing effort to rewrite the English language in order to change the debate and destroy civil order. Cisgender is a made-up word. Cisgender that means nothing. Do not call me cisgender. I am a woman. This gentleman sitting next to me, he is a man. That's who he is. That is what our title is. That is what we have been described throughout history. This bill does nothing to prohibit men from competing in men's sports. I will repeat, this bill does nothing to prohibit men from competing in men's sports. It does prohibit men from competing in women's sports. It is that simple. All we have to do is look at what happened during the Paris Olympics, where we watched a dude beat the hell out of a woman in a boxing match, and we have people on the other side of the aisle who actually believe that that is okay. That man is not a woman. He has been tested repeatedly. That is a man, and he will not be allowed to compete against women in the future because he is a man. We do not want men beating up women. We do not want men in women's soccer or volleyball or basketball or rugby or swimming or any other athletic competition. This isn't difficult. All you need to do for any kind of determination for sex is a cheek swab. The fact that you guys are talking about doing these inspections of people and the fact that the Boxing Association used to do that, that's sick. That is sick.
Transphobes are so funny because, actually, just look at me. Just take a second and look at me. Look at the 115-pound man standing in front of you right now. The man with zero body hair and the temperament of a rabid chihuahua. Look at every other man in my family and then look at me and just seriously try to convince me that I was not being obliterated with estrogen while I was in the womb. I'm sorry that I was born with an extra sidearm on me, but I think I'm 90% of the way complete, just a couple HRT pills and some cherry whipped cream on top and it'll finish it up perfectly.
Hi, how are you? Sorry if I just woke you.
All right.
I'm Finn, and I'm with the Migrants for Equal Rights, or the MFers, and we're just going around trying to collect some signatures. I'm not sure if you're aware, but ICE has been going around terrorizing a lot of people in the community.
Yeah, it's been terrible.
So there's a lot of people that are locked up right now, and we're just trying to get them released. So is that something you might be willing to lend your signature to?
Yeah, sure, I'll sign.
Awesome. If you could just sign right there where it says MFers. Yeah, I do. So we're actually a foundation that was created by Billie Eilish, and that's why I'm documenting this today, because we're going to make a film about it. So eventually these people, once they're released, they will need a place to go. Obviously, they can't go to Billy's neighborhood because it's gated and they have rules there. So usually we just bus them to middle to low income neighborhoods. So I just wanted to confirm with you it was all right if we bring them all here once they're released.
What? No. I don't think that would be a good idea.
Why wouldn't it?
Well, I can't make those kind of decisions. We have an HOA and...
Oh, do you have rules with an HOA?
We have an HOA. I'm sure they wouldn't be okay with that.
But don't we have rules at the border?
Yeah.
So you're okay with them just flooding over the border and ignoring those rules, but you want them to obey your HOA's rules?
Well, I mean, I just can't make those decisions, but I don't think that sounds right.
But you can make a decision to abolish ICE and to release all these people like you're just about to do? Doesn't that seem a little hypocritical?
Yeah, I guess it does.
So you don't want rules, or you do want rules for these people?
I'm just saying I can't make that decision.
Okay, so maybe they shouldn't break rules, period.
Yeah.
Is that something we can agree on?
Yeah.
And maybe it's disrespectful to legal immigrants that are trying to do it the right way?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, can I get you to take those signs down that you have? The no ice in the FDT?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you don't believe it, so... Thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, I have one last question for you. What does an ICE agent say when you ask how their job's going?
What?
Pretty good.
This is literally if I were in charge of driving a snowplow tractor.
He's just jumping it in the fucking bus lane.
I mean, it makes it melt.
This is crazy.
No, I feel like these guys are like doing acid or something funny.
I kind of want to get down there and give it a go.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like,
He's just dumping it in the street.
We are in front of Atlanta Zoo, and the snow patrol is clearing up over here, big mounds of snow, but instead of carting it away, they're spreading it out equally on the entire road. So hopefully it's gonna melt quicker, but look at this, it's almost like 3 inches over here. But it's like 15 degrees tonight, so this is all gonna become a sheet of ice. Yeah. Liberalism is a mental disorder. Mama's like Mamdani. He wants to make this place socialist. He wants to spread the snow equally. Everyone equally gets the same amount of snow. What do you gotta say over there, Mr. Schwartz? You're looking fine. You're looking fine. Fresh.
We're out here.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, would you look at that?
Yeah, well...
Would you look at that?
Yeah, there's a few more blemishes on the car.
Oh my gosh, just look at it.
The car is not perfect.
Just look at it. Just look at it.
Yeah, well...
What the...
But what is really the major problem in this country today is the fascism in our streets. The attacks on American citizens by masked hoodlums. If you were attacked by a masked person, you might think you were being kidnapped. You'd be justified in shooting the person.
This podcast is all about. We talk about a lot of political things, but underneath all of that is the Bible. I am unapologetically 100% in favor of is the Bible. Jesus is the Word. There is no delineation. If the Bible says it, that's what Jesus is, and that's what Jesus believes. That's what this podcast is actually about, is to actually alert people to what is coming and what is our responsibility in the midst of it.